My name is Deshaun Mitchell, and I'm about to tell you the most embarrassing story of my entire 17 years on this planet. And trust me, when you got an Auntie Rita in your life, embarrassing stories come at you like spam calls during dinner time. Now, before I get into how my auntie single-handedly destroyed any chance I had at a normal teenage romance, let me set the scene. It was the spring of my junior year at Oakwood High, and I had finally worked up the courage to ask out Jasmine Taylor. Jasmine Taylor, y'all. The girl with the prettiest smile in the entire school. The girl who could wear her hair natural one day and have it laid to the gods the next. The girl who was smart, funny, and actually laughed at my corny jokes in chemistry class. The girl who made my palms sweat just thinking about her. I'd been crushing on Jasmine since freshman year, but you know how it is when you're a scrawny kid with braces and a voice that cracks at the worst possible moments. I wasn't exactly swimming in confidence, but junior year hit different. I'd grown 4 inches over the summer, my voice finally decided to stay in 1 octave, and my mom let me get a shape up that actually looked decent for once. So one day after chemistry, when Jasmine was packing up her books and I was standing there trying to remember how words worked, I just went for it. "Hey, Jasmine," I said, my voice only cracking a little bit. "You maybe want to go get some food this Saturday? There's that new burger spot downtown, the Grill House. I heard it's pretty good." She looked up at me with those brown eyes that could probably convince me to jump off a bridge if she asked nicely, and she smiled. "Yeah, Deshaun, that sounds fun. What time?" I almost fainted right there in the chemistry lab. My boy Trevor, who was watching this whole thing from across the room, later told me I had the goofiest grin on my face he'd ever seen. He said I looked like someone had just told me I won a lifetime supply of hot wings. "How about 6? I managed to say without completely embarrassing myself. "Perfect, text me the details." She said yes. Jasmine Taylor said yes to going out with Emmy. I floated through the rest of that school day like I was walking on air. I texted Trevor at least 50 times, each message some variation of, "Bro, she said yes." He told me to calm down before I gave myself a heart attack, but he was just as hyped as I was. That night at dinner, I was still grinning like an idiot. My mama noticed right away. "What's got you so happy, baby?" she asked, passing me the mac and cheese. "You win the lottery or something?" My little sister Kayla, who was 12 and made it her life's mission to annoy me, immediately got suspicious. "Ooh, Deshaun got a girlfriend." "Shut up, Kayla," I said, but I was smiling too hard for it to sound convincing. Mama raised her eyebrows. "Is that what this is about? You got a little date?" "It's not a little date, Ma. It's a regular date with Jasmine Taylor." "Jasmine Taylor." Mama's face lit up. "Oh, I know her, Mama. We went to high school together. That's Beverly's daughter. She's a sweet girl, baby. Real smart, too." "I know, Ma. That's why I like her." This is when my Auntie Rita, who had been suspiciously quiet up until this point, decided to make her presence known. Auntie Rita lived 2 blocks away, but spent so much time at our house that she basically had her own seat at the dinner table. "A date, huh?" Auntie Rita said, looking at me with those eyes that could see straight through any lie you tried to tell. "Your first real date?" "Yes, Auntie, this Saturday." "Where are you taking her?" "The Grill House downtown. The new burger place." Auntie Rita nodded slowly, like she was processing very important information. "The Grill House, downtown, this Saturday at 6. "That's right. And you gonna be a gentleman, right? Open doors, pull out her chair, none of that sitting on your phone nonsense." "Yes, Auntie, I know how to act right." She stared at me for a long moment, then nodded. "Good, 'cause you only get 1 chance to make a first impression, baby. You mess this up, and it's over before it even starts." Looking back, I should have known something was up with how she was drilling me for details, but I was too excited about the date to notice the warning signs. Auntie Rita had that look in her eye, the same look she got right before she did something that she thought was for your own good, but was actually completely unnecessary and embarrassing. The rest of the week crawled by like a snail with arthritis. Every day felt like it was 3 days long. I must have changed my outfit for Saturday at least 20 times. I'd stand in front of my mirror trying different combinations, asking myself questions like, "Is this shirt too try-hard?" Or, "Do these shoes make me look like I'm trying to be grown?" Trevor came over Friday night to help me plan. We sat in my room like we were preparing for a military operation. Okay, so you're picking her up at 5:45, Trevor said, looking at the notes on his phone like he was my personal dating coach. That gives you time to get there by 6. You gotta remember to open the car door for her. My cousin said that's mad important. I don't have a car, fool. My mama's dropping us off. Trevor's face fell. Aw man, for real? That's not a good look, bro. What am I supposed to do? I don't have my license yet, and I'm definitely not asking to borrow Auntie Rita's car. Last time I asked, she said I'd have to pry the keys from her cold, dead hands. Fair point. Okay, so your mama's dropping you off. That's cool. At least it's not the bus. Yeah, I thought about that, but then Jasmine would have to see me count out exact change like we're in elementary school. No, thank you. We spent the next 2 hours going over every possible scenario. What if she orders something expensive? What if I get food stuck in my teeth? What if I run out of things to talk about? What if she thinks I'm boring? What if? Bro, you're overthinking this, Trevor finally said. Just be yourself. She already likes you. Otherwise, she wouldn't have said yes. You really think so? I know so. Now stop stressing and get some sleep. You got a big day tomorrow. Saturday arrived like the final boss in a video game. I woke up at 9 in the morning, even though the date wasn't until 6 in the evening. I couldn't sleep. I was too nervous, too excited, too everything. I took a shower that lasted so long my mama banged on the bathroom door asking if I'd drowned. I got dressed, looked in the mirror, hated the outfit, changed, looked in the mirror again, hated that outfit, and changed 3 more times before settling on a simple blue button-down shirt and some dark jeans. Not too fancy, not too casual, just right. At 5:30, I came downstairs to find my mama waiting by the door with her purse and her keys. She took one look at me and got all emotional. Oh, my baby's first real date, she said, pulling out her phone. Let me get a picture. Ma, please don't. Boy, hush. This is going in the family album. She made me stand by the door while she took at least 15 pictures from different angles. Kayla came running down the stairs to see what all the commotion was about. Ooh, Deshawn looks fancy, she said, giggling. You gonna kiss her? Kayla, I swear. All right, Mama said, grabbing her keys. Let's go before we're late. And Deshawn, yes, Ma, just be yourself, baby. And remember what I taught you. Manners matter. We got in the car and headed to Jasmine's house. My stomach was doing backflips the entire drive. When we pulled up to her house, I saw her standing on the porch, and my breath caught in my throat. She looked beautiful. She had on this yellow sundress that looked like sunshine, and her hair was pulled back in a high ponytail with these little gold hoops in her ears. I got out of the car and walked up to the porch, trying to remember how to walk like a normal human being. Hey, Deshawn, she said, smiling. You look nice. Thanks. You. Wow. Smooth, Deshawn. Real smooth. Her mama came to the door and gave me that look that all mamas give to boys who come to pick up their daughters. That, I'm watching you, and I know where you live. Look, you must be Deshawn, she said. I'm Mrs. Taylor. I know your mama. Y'all have fun. And Jasmine, you call me when you're ready to be picked up. I will, Mama. We walked back to my mama's car. I opened the door for Jasmine like a gentleman, and she smiled at me again. That smile could cure diseases, I swear. The drive downtown was filled with small talk. My mama asked Jasmine about school, about her classes, about her plans for college. Jasmine was polite and answered all her questions while I sat in the backseat trying not to say anything stupid. When we got to the grill house, Mama pulled up to the front and turned around in her seat. Okay, y'all have fun. Deshawn, call me when you're ready to be picked up. And behave yourself. I will, Ma, thanks. We got out of the car and walked into the restaurant, and that's when the night really began. The grill house was one of those trendy spots with exposed brick walls, Edison bulb lights hanging from the ceiling, and a menu that had burgers with names like The Big Boss and The Remix. It smelled amazing, like grilled onions and seasoned fries. The hostess sat us at a booth near the window. I made sure to let Jasmine slide in first, and then I sat across from her. So far, everything was going perfectly. We ordered drinks, lemonade for both of us, and started looking at the menu. Everything looks so good, Jasmine said, scanning the options. I can't decide. Yeah, same. I'm thinking about getting the classic. Can't go wrong with a regular cheeseburger. That sounds good. I might get the chicken sandwich. We were having a normal, nice conversation. She told me about this book she was reading for English class, and I told her about this new video game I'd been playing. We laughed about our chemistry teacher, Mr. Peterson, and his weird obsession with safety goggles. I swear the man acts like we're handling plutonium, I said, and Jasmine laughed so hard she almost knocked over her lemonade. Everything was perfect. 200 perfect. Because that's when I saw her, Auntie Rita. She walked into the grill house wearing a floral blouse and some jeans, her purse hanging from her shoulder, her eyes scanning the restaurant like a Secret Service agent scoping out a location. And when her eyes landed on me, she didn't wave, she didn't smile. She just walked to the table directly next to ours and sat down. I felt my soul leave my body. Jasmine noticed me staring and turned around to see what I was looking at. Is everything okay? Yeah, that's my auntie. Oh, does she want to come sit with us? No, I said a little too loud. Some people at nearby tables looked over. I lowered my voice. I mean, no, she's probably here with her friends or something. But Auntie Rita wasn't with anyone. She was sitting at that table by herself, opening up a menu and pretending like this was the most natural thing in the world. Like she just happened to be at the same restaurant at the same time, sitting at the table right next to mine. The waiter came to take our order. I could barely focus. I ordered the classic burger, and Jasmine got her chicken sandwich. The whole time, I could feel Auntie Rita's presence, like a disturbance in the force. After the waiter left, I tried to get back into conversation mode. So, you were saying about that book? Oh yeah, so the main character, she's trying to figure out who she really is, you know? And she's got all these people telling her who she should be, but she's trying to find her own voice. That's deep, I said, genuinely interested. Sounds like something we all go through. Exactly. That's why I love it. It's so relatable. From the table next to us, I heard Auntie Rita's voice. Waiter, yes, can I get a water with lemon, please? And let me get the, oh, what's good here? She was really doing this. She was really doing this. I tried to ignore her and focus on Jasmine. So, what made you want to take AP Chemistry? That class is no joke. I actually love science, Jasmine said, her eyes lighting up. I'm thinking about majoring in biology in college, maybe go to med school. For real? That's amazing. What kind of doctor you want to be? Pediatrician. I love working with kids. This was going great. Jasmine was smart, ambitious, beautiful, and she was actually interested in talking to me. I was starting to relax a little bit. Maybe Auntie Rita being there was just a coincidence. Maybe she'd eat her food and mind her business. And then I heard it. Is that right? I looked over. Auntie Rita was on her phone, but she was talking loud. Like, unnecessarily loud. Girl, yes, she said into her phone. I'm at this restaurant and you would not believe what I'm seeing. These young folks today, I tell you. Jasmine glanced over, then looked back at me. Your auntie seems nice. She's something, I said weakly. Our food arrived, and I tried to focus on the delicious burger in front of me. But it was hard to enjoy anything when I could hear every word coming from the next table. Now my nephew, Auntie Rita said loudly into her phone, he's on his first date. Sweet boy, but you know how these young boys can be. No sense whatsoever. I had to come make sure he's acting right. My face got hot. Like, I could feel the heat radiating off my cheeks. Jasmine definitely heard that. There was no way she didn't hear that. Is she talking about us? Jasmine whispered, trying not to laugh. I don't know, I lied, taking a huge bite of my burger so I wouldn't have to say anything else. That's so sweet though, Jasmine said, and she was genuinely smiling. She cares about you. Yeah, I mumbled. She cares a lot. But Auntie Rita wasn't done. Oh no. She was just getting started. She continued, loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear. The girl is pretty, I'll give him that. But he better not be over there acting a fool. He better have pulled out her chair, he better not be on his phone, and he better not have his elbows on the table like he was raised in a barn. I immediately took my elbows off the table. Jasmine was trying so hard not to laugh. Her shoulders were shaking, and she had her hand over her mouth. Your auntie is hilarious, she said. She's something all right, I muttered. The worst part was, I couldn't even confront her. What was I supposed to do? Walk over there and tell my auntie to leave? She'd probably make an even bigger scene. No, I had to sit there and endure this torture like a man. We kept eating and talking, but I was hyper aware of every single thing I did. I made sure to use my napkin. I made sure to chew with my mouth closed. I made sure to keep my phone in my pocket. I was performing good manners like it was an Olympic sport, and Auntie Rita noticed everything. He's doing okay so far, she narrated into her phone. He opened the door for her when they came in. That's good. His mama raised him right. But wait, is he gonna let her order first? He better. The waiter came back to ask if we wanted dessert. I looked at Jasmine. You want anything? I asked. Maybe we could split something? She suggested. Yeah, that sounds good. How about the chocolate cake? Perfect. Ooh, okay, Auntie Rita said from her table. He's sharing dessert. That's smart. Shows he's generous but also practical. I like that. I wanted to disappear. I wanted the floor to open up and swallow me whole. This was supposed to be my moment, my first date. And here was my auntie giving live commentary like she was Snoop Dogg on a nature documentary. Jasmine leaned forward and whispered, Deshawn, I think it's actually really sweet that she cares so much. My family's the same way. They're all up in my business constantly. For real? For real. Last month, my uncle showed up at my track meet with a whole air horn. He was cheering so loud, they almost kicked him out. I laughed for the first time since Auntie Rita had walked in. That's embarrassing. It was mortifying. But also kind of nice, you know? It means they care. The chocolate cake arrived, and it was huge. Like 3 layers of chocolate heaven with fudge dripping down the sides. We both grabbed our forks and dug in. Oh my God, this is amazing, Jasmine said, closing her eyes. Right? This might be the best cake I've ever had. We were having a good time again. The conversation was flowing naturally. She told me about her track meets, and I told her about the robotics club I'd just joined. We discovered we both loved the same TV shows, the same music, the same everything. I was starting to think maybe this date could still be salvaged. Maybe Auntie Rita would finish her meal and leave. Maybe she'd let me have this one thing. But then the universe decided it hadn't humiliated me enough yet. A piece of chocolate cake fell off my fork and landed directly on my shirt, right in the center. A big, dark brown stain that looked like I'd gotten in a fight with a mud puddle. Oh no, I said, grabbing my napkin and trying to wipe it off, which only made it worse. From the next table, I heard Auntie Rita gasp. Lord have mercy. Did he just? He did. He got food on his shirt. On the first date. I looked over, and she was shaking her head like I'd personally disappointed her and everyone who came before her. Jasmine was trying so hard not to laugh. It's okay, she said, handing me more napkins. It happens. I can't believe I just did that. Seriously, it's fine. One time I spilled an entire cup of grape juice on myself at church in the middle of service on Easter Sunday. That's worse than this? Way worse. My dress was white. We both cracked up, and just like that, the embarrassment faded a little bit. Jasmine was cool about it. She didn't make me feel stupid or clumsy. She just rolled with it. We finished the cake carefully, in my case, and asked for the check. I pulled out the money I'd been saving from my part-time job at the grocery store. $35 for both meals and the dessert, plus a tip. I counted it out carefully, making sure I had enough. Let me help pay, Jasmine offered, reaching for her purse. No, I got it, I said, probably a little too quickly. I asked you out, so it's on me. She smiled. Okay. Thank you, Deshawn. That's really sweet. From the next table, good. He paid, like a gentleman should. I raised him right. Well, his mama raised him right, but I helped. I couldn't take it anymore. I looked over at Auntie Rita, and she was staring right at me with this satisfied smile on her face, like she'd just watched her favorite team win the championship. Auntie Rita, I said, my voice tight. Can I talk to you for a second? She raised her eyebrows, all innocent. Me? What's wrong, baby? I excused myself from Jasmine and walked over to my auntie's table. I leaned down and whispered, What are you doing here? What do you mean? What am I doing here? I'm having dinner. Is that a crime? You just happened to come to this exact restaurant at this exact time and sit at the table right next to mine? It's a free country, Deshawn. I can eat where I want. Auntie, this is my first date. My first date. Can I please just have this one thing without you hovering over me like a helicopter? Her face softened a little bit. Baby, I'm not trying to ruin your date. I'm trying to make sure you don't mess it up. You only get one shot at a first impression. I know that. You told me that like 50 times this week. But I can't focus when you're sitting here giving live commentary on everything I do. Was I being too loud? Yes. She had the decency to look a little sheepish. I was just trying to help. I know you were, Auntie. But I don't need help right now. I need space. Please. She studied my face for a long moment, then sighed. You really like this girl, huh? Yeah, I really do. And you're doing okay? She seems happy. She is happy. Or at least, she was until you showed up and started narrating everything like you're Morgan Freeman. Auntie Rita let out a small laugh. All right, I hear you. I'll back off. She reached into her purse and pulled out a 20. Here, take this in case you need extra money. I don't need, boy, take the money. You never know. I took the money because you don't argue with Auntie Rita when she's trying to give you something. Thanks, Auntie. You're welcome, baby. Now go on back to your date. And Deshawn? Yes, ma'am? You're doing good, real good. I'm proud of you. Something warm spread through my chest. Even though she'd embarrassed me to within an inch of my life, hearing her say she was proud of me meant something. I went back to the table where Jasmine was waiting. Everything okay, she asked? Yeah, just had to check on her real quick. She seems really sweet. Intense, but sweet. That's a good way to put it. We left the restaurant together, and I felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Auntie Rita stayed behind to finish her meal, or at least that's what she said she was doing. Knowing her, she was probably still watching us through the window. Outside, the sun was starting to set, and the sky was all orange and pink. We walked down the street toward where my mama was supposed to pick us up, and for the first time all evening, I felt like I could actually breathe. So, Jasmine said, looking up at me, this was fun, even with a surprise guest appearance. You really think so? Even after all that? Especially after all that, your auntie clearly loves you a lot. That's rare, you know? A lot of people don't have family that cares that much. I guess I never thought about it like that. Plus, it gave me some good stories to tell. Wait until my friends hear about this. I groaned. Oh God. You're gonna tell everyone? Are you kidding? This is comedy gold. But don't worry, I'll tell them you were a perfect gentleman. Because you were. My heart did a little flip. Thanks. You made it really easy. We got to the pickup spot, and my mama pulled up right on time. The drive back to Jasmine's house was comfortable. We talked about normal stuff, school, friends, upcoming exams. When we pulled up to her house, I walked her to the door like a gentleman. Thanks for tonight, Deshawn, she said, standing on her porch. I had a really great time. Me too. Maybe we could do it again sometime? Without the auntie surveillance? She laughed. I'd like that. And then, before I could overthink it, she leaned in and kissed me on the cheek. It was quick, just a peck, but it might as well have been fireworks going off in my brain. Good night, Deshawn. Good night, Jasmine. I walked back to the car in a daze. My mama took one look at my face and started laughing. That good, huh? Ma, she kissed me. On the lips? On the cheek, but still she kissed me. I'm happy for you, baby. She's a sweet girl. When we got home, Kayla was waiting at the door like a little spy. So, how'd it go? Did you kiss her? None of your business, nosy. That means no, she said, grinning. Actually, she kissed me. Kayla's eyes went wide. No way. I went upstairs to my room, changed out of my chocolate-stained shirt, and collapsed on my bed. I pulled out my phone to text Trevor about everything that had happened. But before I could, there was a knock on my door. Come in. Auntie Rita walked in, still in her floral blouse from the restaurant. She sat down on the edge of my bed with a serious expression on her face. We need to talk, she said. Oh boy. Here it comes. The lecture? Auntie, if you're about to yell at me for asking you to back off, I'm not going to yell at you, baby. I'm going to apologize. Wait. What? You're apologizing? Yes, I'm apologizing. What I did tonight was wrong. You asked me where you were taking her, and I deliberately showed up to spy on you. That wasn't fair. I sat up, shocked. Auntie Rita never apologized. Ever. She was the kind of woman who'd rather eat glass than admit she was wrong. I was just so worried, she continued, her voice softer now. You're growing up so fast, and I remember what it was like to be your age. I remember making mistakes, trusting the wrong people, getting my heart broken, and I didn't want that for you. Auntie, I appreciate that, but I gotta make my own mistakes sometimes. That's how you learn. I know. Your mama told me the same thing before you left. She said, Rita, let the boy breathe. And I said I would. But then I started thinking about all the things that could go wrong. And before I knew it, I was getting dressed and heading to that restaurant. Why do you worry so much? She was quiet for a moment, looking down at her hands. Because I love you, Deshaun. You, your mama, Kayla, y'all are my whole world. I never had kids of my own, so y'all are my babies. And I know I can be a lot sometimes. I know I'm overbearing and nosy and all up in your business when I shouldn't be. You're not that bad, Auntie. Yes, I am, but I'm working on it. And I want you to know that even though I embarrassed you tonight, it came from a place of love. I just want you to be happy and safe. I felt my throat get tight. I know, Auntie. And I love you too, even when you're driving me crazy. She smiled and reached over to mess up my hair, which I usually hated, but tonight I let her do it. So you really like this girl? Yeah, she's special. I could tell. The way you looked at her, it reminded me of how your daddy used to look at your mama, like she hung the moon and the stars. My dad had passed away when I was 8. Cancer. I didn't remember a whole lot about him, but I remembered that he loved my mama more than anything in the world. You think he'd be proud of me? I asked. Baby, I know he'd be proud of you. You're a good kid. You got good manners, a good heart, and you're smart. He'd be bursting with pride. We sat there for a minute, just being together. Then Auntie Rita stood up and headed for the door. Get some rest, baby. And Deshaun, yes, ma'am. Next time you have a date, I promise I'll stay home. But I'm still gonna need a full report afterward. I laughed. Deal. After she left, I lay back on my bed and thought about everything that had happened. Yeah, the date had been embarrassing. Yeah, Auntie Rita had gone way too far. But Jasmine was right. It came from a place of love. And at the end of the day, having family that cared too much was better than having family that didn't care at all. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Jasmine. Hey, thanks again for tonight. Your auntie is hilarious, by the way. We should definitely do this again soon. Without the surveillance, LOL. I grinned and typed back, definitely. And sorry again about my auntie. She means well. I know she does. That's what makes it sweet. Good night, Deshaun. Good night, Jasmine. I put my phone down and stared up at the ceiling, a huge smile on my face. My first date had been a disaster and perfect all at the same time, and somehow that felt exactly right. The next day at church, because Mama wasn't letting me skip church just because I had a date the night before, word had already spread about what happened. Family gossip moves faster than the speed of light, I swear. My cousin Trevon came up to me in the parking lot before service with the biggest grin on his face. Yo, Deshaun, I heard about your date last night. How did you already? Auntie Rita called my mama last night, said she had to make sure you were acting right at dinner. I dropped my head into my hands. Of course she did. Man, that's hilarious though. She really sat at the next table? The next table, Trayvon. Like, I could hear her breathing. He doubled over laughing. That's the most Auntie Rita thing I've ever heard. Remember when she showed up to my basketball game with that air horn and the ref almost kicked her out? Exactly. She's a legend, bro. You just gotta embrace it. Inside the church, more family members wanted the details. My grandma, who was 92 and could barely hear anything else, heard about the date perfectly fine. I heard you took a young lady out, she said, pulling me down so she could pinch my cheek. That's nice, baby. You treat her right? Yes, Grandma. Good. You got good home training. Your mama and Rita made sure of that. After church, we all went to Grandma's house for Sunday dinner, which was a whole production. The entire family was there, aunties, uncles, cousins, second cousins, people I wasn't even sure how I was related to. The house was loud with conversation, laughter, and the smell of fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, cornbread, and sweet potato pie. I was in the living room with my cousins when Auntie Rita walked in with a plate piled high with food. She sat down in her usual chair and immediately started in. "So y'all heard about Deshawn's date last night?" "Auntie," I groaned. "What? I'm proud of you. You handled yourself well, after I left, that is." My cousin Brittany, who was 19 and in college, leaned forward with interest. "Wait, you were there? Like at the actual date?" "I was at the restaurant, at the next table." The room exploded with laughter. My uncles were slapping their knees. My aunties were shaking their heads. Even my mama was trying not to laugh too hard. "Rita, you didn't," my auntie Cheryl said. "I did. I had to make sure he was doing it right." "The boy is 17 years old," Uncle James said, chuckling. "He don't need a chaperone." "Yes, he does. You know how these young boys can be. No sense whatsoever." "I was sitting right there," I protested. "What did you think was going to happen?" "I don't know. That's why I had to be there." "What if you forgot to open the door for her? What if you had your phone out the whole time? What if you talked with your mouth full?" "I know how to act, Auntie." "I know you do now, because I taught you right." Everybody was laughing, and even though I was embarrassed all over again, I couldn't help but smile a little bit. This was my family. Loud, nosy, all up in your business but full of love. Later, when things had calmed down and people were scattered throughout the house in different conversations, I found myself in the kitchen with my mama. She was putting away leftovers while I dried dishes. "You okay, baby?" she asked. "Yeah, Ma, I'm good." "I heard about what Rita did. I gave her a piece of my mind this morning, let me tell you." "What'd you say?" "I told her she needs to let you grow up, that you can't learn to swim if someone's always holding you up in the water." "What'd she say?" Mama smiled. "She said I was right. And then she told me about how you stood up to her at the restaurant. She was actually proud of you for that." "For real?" "For real. Rita's tough, but she respects people who stand up for themselves. You did good last night, Deshawn. Not just with Jasmine, but with Rita too." "Thanks, Ma." She put down the container she was holding and turned to look at me. "You're growing up so fast. Sometimes I look at you and I still see my little boy who used to be scared of the dark. And then other times I see this young man standing in front of me and I think, when did that happen?" "I'm still scared of the dark sometimes," I admitted. She laughed and pulled me into a hug. "That's okay, baby. We're all scared of something. The important thing is you don't let that fear stop you from living your life." The rest of Sunday dinner was filled with the usual chaos. Kayla and the younger cousins were running around playing tag. The men were in the living room arguing about football. The women were in the kitchen gossiping and laughing. And I was right in the middle of it all, feeling grateful. Monday at school, word had gotten around about my date. Trevor found me at my locker first thing in the morning. "Bro, I heard your auntie crashed your date. How did you? Does everybody know? My mama talked to your mama yesterday. She told me the whole story. That's legendary, man." "It was mortifying. But did Jasmine care?" "Actually, no. She thought it was sweet." "See? You were worried for nothing. So when's the second date?" "I don't know yet. We're supposed to talk about it." As if on cue, I saw Jasmine walking down the hallway. She spotted me and smiled, and my heart did that flipping thing again. "Hey, Deshawn," she said, walking up to my locker. "Hey, how was the rest of your weekend?" "Good." My family wouldn't stop asking about our date, though. "Same. My whole family knows everything. My auntie made sure of that." She laughed. "I told my friends about it. They think your auntie is hilarious." "Great. Now I'm famous for having an overprotective auntie." "Hey, there are worse things to be famous for. At least you know she loves you." We walked to first period together, and it felt natural, easy, like we'd been doing this forever. Over the next few weeks, Jasmine and I kept hanging out. We'd study together after school, eat lunch together, text until late at night about everything and nothing. And true to her word, Auntie Rita stayed home. But she still wanted updates. "So, you took her to the movies?" she'd ask every time I saw her. "Yes, Auntie." "And you bought her popcorn?" "Yes, Auntie." "Good. That's good. And you're being respectful? Not trying to move too fast?" "Auntie, I'm just asking. These are important things." But I understood now. She wasn't trying to embarrass me or control me. She was just showing love the only way she knew how. And yeah, it was annoying sometimes. Yeah, it was overbearing. But It came from a good place. One Saturday afternoon, about 2 months after that first disastrous date, I was at Auntie Rita's house helping her clean out her garage. She'd been saying she was going to do it for years, and I'd volunteered because she'd promised to pay me $50. We were going through old boxes when she pulled out a photo album I'd never seen before. "What's that?" I asked. "This is from when I was young, around your age." She opened it up, and I saw pictures of a younger Auntie Rita. She had the same eyes, the same smile, but her face was smoother, her hair was different, and she looked happy. Really happy. "Who's that?" I asked, pointing to a guy in several of the photos. He had his arm around her in one picture, and they were both grinning like they'd just won the lottery. "That's Samuel," she said softly. "My first love. I didn't know you were married before." "I wasn't. We never got married. We were supposed to, but..." She trailed off, staring at the picture. "He passed away. Car accident. We were both 21. "Auntie, I'm so sorry. I didn't know." "It's okay, baby. It was a long time ago. But losing him, it changed me. Made me more protective of the people I love. Made me want to hold on tighter, you know?" I understood then. Really understood. Auntie Rita wasn't just being nosy for the sake of it. She'd lost someone she loved, and she was terrified of losing anyone else. "Is that why you don't have kids of your own?" I asked carefully. "Part of it. After Samuel died, I couldn't imagine loving someone else like that. And then your mama had you, and I fell in love all over again. Not romantic love, but family love. And that was enough for me." She closed the album and looked at me. "That's why I care so much, Deshawn. That's why I showed up at your date even though I knew I shouldn't. Because you're precious to me. You and Kayla and your mama. Y'all are my whole heart." I felt tears prick in my eyes. "We love you too, Auntie. Even when you're driving us crazy." She laughed, wiping at her own eyes. "I know I can be a lot, but I'm learning. Slowly. Your mama keeps telling me I need to let go a little bit, let y'all make your own mistakes. It's hard though. I get it now. I really do. And Auntie, that first date, even though you embarrassed me half to death, it actually turned out okay. Jasmine thinks you're great." "She does? She does. She said it's sweet that I have family that cares so much." Auntie Rita smiled. "She sounds like a smart girl." "She is. You'd really like her if you got to know her. You know, without spying on us. Maybe you should bring her around sometime. For dinner. I promise I'll behave." "You promise?" "I promise. Scout's honor." "You were never a scout." "Well, whatever honor I got then." I laughed and went back to sorting through boxes. But something had shifted between us. We understood each other better now. A few weeks later, I took Auntie Rita up on her offer and brought Jasmine over for Sunday dinner. I was nervous about it mixing my girlfriend and my family was a big step, but Jasmine seemed excited. We got to Grandma's house right at 3, which was when dinner always started. The place was already packed with people, and the noise hit us as soon as we walked through the door. "Deshawn," Kayla yelled, running up to us. "Is this Jasmine?" "Yeah, this is her." Kayla looked Jasmine up and down with all the seriousness of a Secret Service agent. "Hi, I'm Kayla. I'm Deshawn's sister. I'm smarter than him." "Nice to meet you, Kayla," Jasmine said, laughing. "I heard a lot about you. Good things, mostly." I introduced Jasmine to everyone, my mama, my grandma, my uncles, my aunties, my cousins. There were so many people that I knew she'd never remember all their names, but she smiled and was polite to everyone. And then came the moment I'd been both dreading and anticipating, introducing her to Auntie Rita. "Jasmine, this is my Auntie Rita." Auntie Rita stood up from her chair and walked over to us. She looked Jasmine over with those sharp eyes of hers, and for a second, I was worried she was about to give her the 3rd degree. But then she smiled. A real, genuine smile. "So you're the young lady who's been making my nephew so happy," she said. "Yes, ma'am. It's nice to finally meet you properly, without a table between us." Auntie Rita laughed, actually laughed. "Oh, you got jokes. I like her already, Deshawn." "I'm glad," I said, relieved. "Come on, baby," Auntie Rita said to Jasmine. "Let me introduce you to everyone. And don't worry, we don't bite much." She led Jasmine away, and my mama came up beside me. "You were worried for nothing," she said. "I know, but with Auntie Rita, you never know. She's changing, baby. Slowly but surely." You helped with that. Dinner was loud and chaotic, just like always. The table was packed with food: fried chicken, baked chicken, pot roast, collard greens, green beans, mac and cheese, cornbread, rolls, sweet potato pie, peach cobbler, and about 5 other dishes I couldn't keep track of. Jasmine fit right in. She talked to my cousins about college plans, helped Kayla with a math problem, and even got my grandma to tell her stories about the old days. Watching her with my family made my heart feel full. After dinner, when people were scattered around the house in food comas, Auntie Rita pulled me aside. "She's a good one," she said. "I know. Don't mess it up." "I won't." "And Deshawn?" "Yes, ma'am. Thank you." "For what?" "For being patient with me. For standing up to me when you needed to. For teaching this old lady that sometimes you gotta let go and let people grow." I hugged her. "You're not old, Auntie. You're just experienced." She laughed and hugged me back. "Boy, you got jokes just like your daddy. He always knew how to make me laugh." Later that evening, I walked Jasmine to her mama's car. The sun was setting and everything felt peaceful. "Your family is amazing," she said. "They're so loud and funny and full of love. They liked you too, especially Auntie Rita. She's really sweet. She told me about Samuel." "She did?" "Yeah. She says she sees a lot of him in you. The way he used to look at her is the way you look at me." My face got hot. "She said that?" "She did." "And Deshawn?" "Yeah. I look at you the same way." She kissed me then, right there in front of Grandma's house with half my family probably watching from the windows. And I didn't care. Let them watch. Let them gossip, because this was real. And it was good, and it was mine. When I went back inside, Auntie Rita was sitting on the porch, smiling. "You happy?" she asked. "Yeah, Auntie, I'm really happy." "Good. That's all I ever wanted for you, to be happy and loved." "I am, thanks to you, and Mama, and this whole crazy family." She stood up and put her hand on my shoulder. "We might be crazy, baby, but we're your crazy. Don't ever forget that." "I won't." That night, lying in bed, I thought about everything that had happened since that first date. Auntie Rita crashing it had seemed like the worst thing ever at the time. But looking back, it had taught me something important. Family shows love in different ways. Sometimes it's quiet and gentle. Sometimes it's loud and overbearing. Sometimes it's embarrassing and makes you want to crawl under a rock. But it's always love. Auntie Rita sat at that table because she loved me. She wanted to make sure I was okay, that I was being treated right, that I wasn't making a fool of myself. And yeah, her methods were questionable at best, but her heart was in the right place. And that's the thing about family. They'll drive you crazy, embarrass you in front of your crush, tell all your business to anyone who'll listen, and get in your way when you're trying to grow up. But they'll also be there when you need them, love you unconditionally, and teach you lessons you never knew you needed to learn. So yeah, my auntie crashed my first date and sat at the next table. And you know what? I wouldn't change it for anything. Because that night taught me that having people who care too much is better than having people who don't care at all. It taught me that love looks different on everyone. And sometimes the people who annoy you the most are the ones who love you the deepest. It taught me to stand up for myself while still respecting my elders. And most importantly, it taught me that family in all its loud, nosy, overbearing glory is the greatest blessing you can have. 3 years later, I'm at college studying engineering. Jasmine's at a different school studying biology, but we're still together. We make it work with video calls and visits on long weekends. And every time I come home, the first person I visit after my mama is Auntie Rita. She's mellowed out a little bit over the years. She doesn't show up unannounced as much. She doesn't grill me about every little thing, but she still calls me every Sunday to check in, still makes my favorite pound cake when I come home, and still gives me advice whether I ask for it or not. Last week, I brought Jasmine home for Thanksgiving. We were all sitting around Grandma's table again, the same table where we'd had Sunday dinner for years, and Auntie Rita raised her glass. "I want to make a toast," she said, and everyone got quiet. "To family, to the people who drive us crazy but keep us sane, to the people who get in our business but only because they care, and to Deshawn and Jasmine, who taught this old lady that sometimes you gotta let go and trust that you raised them right." Everyone clinked their glasses, and I caught Auntie Rita's eye. She winked at me, and I smiled back. Yeah, she crashed my first date. But she also taught me one of the most important lessons of my life, that love in all its forms is worth celebrating, even when it's embarrassing, even when it's too much, even when it shows up uninvited and sits at the next table. Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to protect the people we love. And if that means being a little extra sometimes, well, that's just how family works. And I wouldn't have it any other way. The end. The moral. Love doesn't always look the way we expect it to. Sometimes it's quiet support, and sometimes it's loud interference. Sometimes it respects boundaries, and sometimes it crashes your first date and sits at the next table. But whether it's your mama, your auntie, your grandma, or your annoying little sister, the people who care about you will show up sometimes in the most embarrassing ways possible. And years from now, when you look back on those moments, you'll realize that having family who cares too much is infinitely better than having family who doesn't care at all. So embrace the chaos, forgive the overstepping, and remember that behind every too much auntie is a heart full of love that just wants to see you happy, safe, and thriving. Because family isn't perfect. It's loud, messy, complicated, and sometimes mortifying. But it's also the greatest blessing you'll ever have. Like this video if it touched something in you. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories about what it means to be human, to be family, and to choose love even when it's complicated. I'll see you next time.